Welcome to another episode of Inner Mastery. This is a book club edition. We are currently in the middle of Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, and this is chapter 6 we're reading, Breaking Free, the first half of it. This is really talking about how you can break free from being taken over by emotions, by these unconscious and automatic reactions that are happening. How do you bring consciousness, awareness, presence into your life so that you do not do things that you later regret, right? Or say things that you later regret. And how do we help our children do this or our grandchildren do this? You know, they say the next evolution of humanity, it's not going to be a physical shift, right? Like we've seen in evolutionary aspects up to this point. It is human consciousness evolving. We are the only beings that this level of consciousness can move through. And unfortunately, we are taken over by this pain body, by the ego mind, by all of these things that get blocked and stuck inside of us. And so bringing the light of awareness to them will release them and allow you to then be that beacon of light, that consciousness that can move into this planet. That is the new earth, right, that he is talking about. And it is the potential that is inside of you. So this is a profound discussion. I hope you enjoy it. Any questions, of course, always put them in the comments. Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I am coming to you live from Florida. Today is Monday, so it is book club day, and we are kicking off the new year, still in the midst of our Eckhart Tolle book. So this is A New Earth. And it's interesting, you know, this was one of Oprah's book club books, and someone just messaged me while we were kind of on break over the holidays that she has picked to do this book again. It's one of the only times that she has picked to repeat a book in her book club. And I think we all have a sense of why, because this is an incredibly insightful book. I don't think you could just read it one time. Hopefully these discussions are helping you to kind of sink your teeth into this on a deeper level, because truly what's here is the secrets to life, the secrets to being happy. And hey, Charlotte, good to see you. If you're joining me live on book club, let me know when you have arrived. If you're catching the replay, let me know that you're watching the replay. This chapter, this portion, this discussion is really going to be about how to break free from what he calls the pain body. So that aspect inside of you that can get really emotional, can kind of overtake your logical mind and make you do things that maybe you wouldn't usually do. We see this in children, we see it in ourselves, we see it in others. And it's really living very unconsciously. And he kind of gets at that the point of all of us being here is to bring consciousness to this world through us and through ourselves. So we're going to dive right in. Hopefully everybody remembered that we kicked back off book club. I apologize for, kind of taking a few weeks off, but it was a nice few weeks. I hope you enjoyed it. I was out in Sedona, Arizona. It was gorgeous. And then I went to Salt Lake City for the reveal of an incredible new product, which is on its way to many of you. And anyway, now's not the time and place to talk about that, but I will be doing a live video about that because it's phenomenal. So let's jump in. So this, as always, this book, I can't even just highlight stuff. I'm having to take notes. Hey Lou, yes, very good stuff. So how to break free from the pain body. What he says is that basically, if you can be presence, if you can be 100% present, if you can be 100% the witness, and notice when this influx of negative emotion comes in, right? If you don't allow yourself to identify with it, it can't control you. And so from a conceptual level, right, this makes sense. Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. Right? That when you see these negative emotions try to take over, rather than allowing them to take over, you witness them. You just hold a presence and allow them to move through. I think all of us can agree, okay, that makes logical sense. In practice, though, it gets very, very difficult. And I think that, at least for me, that was one thing that I feel Eckhart Tolle doesn't give us in this book, is the actual techniques and things you can do so you can strengthen this ability inside of you. And that is actually what I do in my Inner Management Mastery program. So for those of you, I don't know if anyone on here right now has taken that program, but that is precisely what we do. And I actually teach these principles, right? The first principle being, hey, realize that you are more than these emotions coming through, that you are more than the thoughts, that you are the one witnessing all of these things passing by, right? Which is what he's teaching us. Step 1 is to realize. Once you realize that, that single truth will start to set you free. But the next thing you need to do, step 2, is to disidentify from that very thing, to realize I am not that, to create space between you and the emotion, or you and the thought patterns that are taking over. And in mastery, I teach you techniques to help you to disidentify. I think that has been the beauty of the merger of, Eckhart Tolle's work, traditional yogic philosophy. Yoga is witnessing the modifications of the mind. It's exactly what we're saying here. Witness the pain body. That's what it is. It's not about poses and blah, blah, blah. It's about that. And, don't react. And, I teach Yoga Nidra. It's probably one of the most powerful tools out there, like lightning strike precision, to help you drop back into the witness space and to help you be the container through which all is moving through, so that you can witness the emotions, you can create the space and disidentify from them. Hands down has to be the best thing. I was actually thinking, and you guys tell me if you'd be interested in this, I was thinking about doing a virtual workshop to introduce everybody to Yoga Nidra, to help you understand what it's a tool to help you do, how this technique works, and how absolutely simple it is. You literally lay down to do it. And over time, it changes your neural connections, it changes your physiological body, but it is also a spiritual practice. It is this practice that Eckhart Tolle is asking us to achieve, which is to let go of the pain body, to realize and disidentify from it. So if that is something you guys would be interested in, I can think about pulling together a workshop. I have one that I was doing locally this week, and so I thought, you know what, maybe I'd take that virtual as well. Maybe we do it in February or something. I could get that. Okay, you guys are saying nice. I'm seeing clapping. Okay, great. So I will look into pulling something like that together so we can do a virtual one. And the beautiful thing, to get slightly off track, but the beautiful thing about Yoga Nidra is that we get you into this space where you've disidentified, and then you insert an intention. So rather than the pain body causing you to react in a certain way with unhappiness or anger or jealousy or whatever it is, now we insert an intention. We insert a new way for you to habitually be with the world. Calm, open, patient, whatever it might be. And it does. It will shift and change you. It's beautiful. That's the power of intention. So, I think we could do a workshop where I help each of you make an individual intention. Okay, that'd be great. So, as you sever the link, getting back to the book, right? As you sever the link from the pain body, it starts to weaken it. All right, and on page 162, he says, your thinking ceases to be clouded by emotion. Your present perceptions are no longer distorted by the past, right? You're not seeing everything through the lens of this pain or through the lens of your past. He says the energy that was trapped in the pain body then changes its vibrational frequency and is transmuted into presence. In this way, the pain body becomes the fuel for consciousness. This is why many of the wisest, most enlightened men and women on our planet once had a heavy pain body. Now, that probably is a bit confusing. And I want to explain this because I think what he just said is massive. And the way that I explain it in the mastery program and the way it's always been taught to me is if you think about it like everything is energy. I think we've talked about this on book club before. If you imagined everything like you're a tube and everything is coming through you, energy, events, thoughts, emotions, it's all just flowing through you. And sometimes things happen that feel too intense or they are too much. And so we block them. And so the energy of that event can't pass through. What are the things we try to avoid? We try to avoid feeling unhappy. We try to push down anger. We try to push down jealousy. These are the types of things that we don't allow to flow through because we don't like the way they feel when they're flowing through. But we're totally unconscious in that when we actually block it, that energy isn't created or destroyed. It turns in on itself. The yogis call it a grunty, an energy knot that is created. This is what Eckhart Tolle calls the pain body, right? These blockages that are in here that then get triggered. So when something new comes through that feels like unhappiness or anger or jealousy or resentment or any of these negative emotions, it bumps up against this and it gets amplified, it gets activated, and it can feel like it just takes you over. All right, but what he's saying in this, he says the energy that's trapped in the pain body, so imagine this energy, right? All it was trying to do was flow through. Flow back to source, right? You're just the vessel through which it was coming and going. But you blocked it in you. Well, when you release it, guess what? That energy gets freed up and it literally will take you home. The yogis say it's called a sushumna. It's like this channel that when these blocked bits of energy, right, because they manifest physically in you, when they come out, they do so through the sushumna and they take you up and back and connect you with the divine. That's exactly what he's talking about. He says, the pain body changes its vibrational frequency and is transmuted into presence. In this way, the pain body becomes fuel for consciousness. This is the fuel. It comes through. It's the same energy that can connect you with your life force. It is life force. You've just, created a knot out of it. It's pretty wild. What he's talking about. So let me ask, do you believe that you can mask the pain body? These things that get blocked in us, do you believe it is possible to just mask them, to keep them swept under the rug, to keep them, out of sight? Do you believe it's possible? 1, if yes, 2, if no. Is it possible for you to cover the pain body? 1, if you think yes, 2, if you think no. Okay. Oh, look, apparently on Instagram, when I hold up a peace sign, balloons come out. That's funny. Okay, I didn't know that. Facebook doesn't have that animation, but the pain body, no, you can't. The pain body emanates from you. It is energy. That blocked energy holds a vibrational frequency, and it emanates from you. You cannot, your mind thinks, oh, I'm acting polite and I'm acting nice and I'm doing okay. But the truth is, energy is speaking. And all of you have probably experienced this, right? Have you ever walked into a room and you just feel like, whoa, something's going on here? No one has said anything, no one has done anything, but you just feel it, right? Or you've met someone and you just sensed it. You're like, this person just doesn't feel safe, right? Or this person is saying one thing, but their body is emanating something completely different. I know sometimes, I was at an event and I was talking with a bunch of women. It was a women's event, and I was talking with someone, and she was saying one thing, but her body was projecting at me the complete exact opposite of what she was saying. And it was very confusing to navigate, right? Because I was like, well, you're saying this, but actually you're meaning this, and this is weird, right? The more aware you are of your own, the more aware you start to become of others, right? You start to kind of be able to sense this and to feel this, what's emanating from other people. And you pick it up, right? So put a 5 in the chat. High five me if you've ever felt this. You know what I'm talking about. You felt this emanating from somebody else. You felt that essence of somebody else. Usually when you first meet somebody, you feel it. You have an initial inner, intuitive knowing about that person. Before you start talking, before the mind gets involved, you just have this sense of I trust that person. I like that person. Oh, that energy feels good. I want more of that. Or ooh, this doesn't feel safe. Ooh, I'm going to just step away. Ooh, I don't even want to go interact with this person. Okay, I'm seeing 5s. We're getting high fived. All right. This is what happens. And he shared a joke. It was kind of funny. He was talking about how the pain body, right, takes over people. And he was saying how, one day attorneys might be arguing that it was their client's pain body that was activated. And so, my client didn't know what he was doing. His pain body took over, right? He can't be held liable for what happened. And it sort of drummed up an interesting question, which he asked us as readers, and I want to ask you all, which is are people actually responsible for what they do when they're possessed by their pain body? And it is a possession. Did any of you notice it or have it happen to you over the last couple of weeks since we met? It is wild when that emotion comes in so strong, so fast, so heavy, so intensely, and all of a sudden, boom, you are unconsciously interacting. It's an automatic thing that happens. And what he's saying is that sometimes that's so intense in people, they do things that they never would have done otherwise. And are they responsible for it? And this is a tricky one, right? Because it's well, they weren't conscious. They were doing something completely unconsciously. So technically, you can't really hold them responsible. But also at the same time, we as human beings came here to bring this consciousness, to become alert and aware of, and to allow for this level of consciousness to come through. I want to read here. This is on page 163. He says, in the greater scheme of things, human beings are meant to evolve into conscious beings. And those who don't will suffer the consequences of their unconsciousness. They are out of alignment with the evolutionary impulse of the universe. All right? So if you continue to live unconsciously and let your pain body take over, you're going to suffer the consequences, which is like low-level vibrational things being attracted in, right? But if you start to become aware and you start to become more conscious, he's saying that's actually why we are here. Human beings are here to evolve into conscious beings. That's the next phase of evolution. It's not a physical trait that is going to change. It's a consciousness trait that is going to change. That's the new earth. That's where we're going, conscious beings. He's saying if you don't do that, you're not going to be in alignment with evolution. But then the funny thing is, and he kind of goes on to talk about this, he says, it is not possible to be out of alignment with evolution of the universe. Even humans being unconscious and suffering generates the evolution. When you can't stand the endless cycle of suffering anymore is when you begin to awaken. So the pain body has a necessary place in the larger picture. It's like once you suffer so much, you break through and you say, I need something different. This internal dialogue and everything else is not working. I need to search for something else. And that is what awakens you. So it's like you need the unconsciousness. We need the pain body because it's the thing that causes so much discomfort that it breaks us open to realizing, oh, I'm being limited by something very small. I'm actually much bigger than this. Is that making sense? This is like the essence of it all. It is what allows you to awaken. It is needed, all right? It's the thing that awakens you. It's like post-traumatic growth, right, which I talk about a lot. It's like going through trauma is something that is necessary to awaken you to the reality of the truth of who you are and to not be limited by this thing that happened in your past or this thing that occurred, but to allow that thing to be the very thing that breaks you open. There's was it called kintsugi or something? Kintsugi? It's a Japanese thing where like it's pottery. So my neighbor has a teapot from Japan and it has this gold in there. And so what happens is that when the pot breaks, they infuse it with gold. They actually put gold to bring it back together, and that ends up being the strongest part of the pot. So the thing that broke it was actually what awakened it to its real beauty and to the gold. California wildfires could have awakened communities. Yeah, I think that we will find that they are, right? Because when things happen, like losing your home to a fire, it's not good or bad, right? Our past and our preferences would make us want to believe that's a bad thing. But the truth is, it just happened. It wasn't for you. It wasn't against you. It wasn't because you did something bad and this was karma. No, karma is how you're going to interact and react to what happens. Do you want to act consciously or unconsciously? It can allow you to let go of things. It can allow you to open up to something new. It can release so much, things like this. There's a lot of people here in Florida that I know that have lost their homes because of hurricanes. And some suffer and some use it to awaken to their next purpose in life and become more conscious. It's a personal choice. It totally is. And all of us watching it and witnessing it see the reaction inside of you, right? Because that's your work. That's your pain body. And it's like, no, you need to be with that, which is really what the rest of this chapter is about. He talks about, this is the section called Presence. He talks about this woman in her 30s that comes to see him. And let me just describe her briefly, right? He says, I could sense the pain behind her polite and superficial smile. You know anybody like that? Where you're like, that's not real. You're smiling, but you're not happy. As a child, she had been abused by a physically violent father. And the pain she was feeling was not caused by her present life circumstances, but an extraordinarily heavy pain body. Everything was being filtered through her past. And how she viewed her current life situation was through the abuse of her past. And so he goes into how he directed her. And I'm actually going to read this to you because this is really, really, really powerful. Right? Maybe you know someone like this. Maybe you recognize this in yourself. But he walks through how he helped her bring consciousness, presence, awareness, the witness to all that she was feeling. So here we go. I directed the focus of her attention to what she was feeling inside her body. and asked her to sense the emotion directly, instead of through the filter of her unhappy thoughts, her unhappy story. She said she had come expecting me to show her the way out of her unhappiness, not her way into it. But reluctantly, however, she did what I asked her to do, and tears started rolling down her face. Her whole body was shaking. And so I asked her, at this moment, this is what you feel. There is nothing you can do about the fact that in this moment, this is what you feel, right? It's here now. He says, now, instead of wanting this moment to be different from what it is, which adds more pain to the pain that's already there, is it possible for you to completely accept that this is what you are feeling right now? And she gets angry at him. I don't want to accept it. I don't want to feel pain. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to be sad. Does this sound familiar? Right? How many of us want to feel those emotions? And what Eckhart turns and says to her is, well, if you don't mind being unhappy, what happens to the unhappiness? Don't you want to find out? And so what he was saying to her was, well, hang on a second. Unhappiness is here. Sadness is here. And you're resisting it. You're saying, I don't want to feel this. I don't want this. This needs to go away. But you're resisting it. And because you're resisting it, it's persisting. It's going to stay. So what would happen if you just allowed it to be? I remember my therapist saying to me one time after my car accident, I said, he said, have you cried? And I said, no, I won't allow myself to cry. And he said, why not? And I said, well, because if I cry, I'll never stop crying. Because I had so much pain inside of me about the whole thing that I said, no, if I cry, I will fall apart. And he said, you need to let yourself cry. And it was the same exact kind of moment that I had where I went, okay, let me just allow it to be here. What would happen if I just allowed the tears to come? And I didn't judge them as good or bad or say I'm unhappy or anything. I just felt the tears. And I did, and I cried for a long time. But they came out, and you know how I felt after? Better. I felt better, and I didn't cry for forever, right? I'm not crying right now. And what happens, this is the same thing that I teach in yoga therapy. This is the beauty, he's getting at it again. It's like he's taught step one, but where's step two? And that's where I want to help you all. It's in yoga therapy, which I also teach, which I don't know how we could do a workshop on that. But anyway, maybe. We'll see. We teach people to be with what is. We say, hey, breathe with it. Create space. Say to this sensation, it's okay that you're here and I'm willing to feel you. And in doing that, we stop trying to push it back. We say, you're allowed to be here, which is the one thing we haven't done, right? We've avoided it. We've tried to numb ourselves out. We've drank alcohol. We've, distracted ourselves in 100 ways. We watch TV, all because we don't want to feel this thing. So what if you just felt it? That's what he's saying. What if you just allowed it? What if you just accepted that it was here? If you do that, guess what? That's the very thing that will allow it to do what it was trying to do in the first place, which was just move through. And so now it will move through. And yes, you'll feel the emotion on the way out. She was shaking. She was crying. In yoga therapy sessions, the same thing happens. It comes out. The energy comes out. Pent up energy, right, is intense when it goes through. But once it goes through, it's gone. And now you're no longer having to trap or block or push down anything. There's nothing to push down. It's all just flowed through. And so then what are you? Well, now your presence, now your witness, now your higher consciousness. You don't have this unconscious stuff clogging you. Does this make sense? This is everything. This is how you get set free from your past. This is what opens you up. This is what allows you to be your true full self and not all this damaged whatever stuff from the past. Programming, events, trauma, whatever it might be. This is how you release it. All right. So, well, I feel like I got to do something around that because again, Eckhart Tolle touches on it, but he doesn't exactly help you do it on your own, right? He describes how he walks this woman into it. And, it's just in this story, he teaches you and shows you what the pain body is and looks like. But I want to help you guys get your own pain bodies out of here, right? And to get that gone. And he kind of shared a funny story how after he helped this emotion be released from this woman, he shares how someone walked into his office after and felt it, felt a really negative energy and didn't want to stay there. And so he opened his windows and went to dinner and then has this whole reaction from this guy, right, that's in a wheelchair at dinner and goes off. And he says, I feel like the universe he said it was either one of two things. This was funny. This was on page 168. He said, I suspected that the universal human pain body had come back to tell me, you thought you defeated me, but look, I'm still here. He said, I also considered the possibility that the released energy field that had left the woman after our session followed me to the restaurant and attached itself to the one person to whom it found a compatible vibration or frequency, somebody else who had a heavy pain body. He was saying, I don't know what happened. I just know that I released the pain body in this woman, and then I go to dinner and I see a massive explosion of a pain body. Whether I brought that with me or whether, the pain body of just humanity was saying, haha, I'm still here, whatever it is. But he says, this is why we're here. I'm going to go back to page 166. He says, I had just witnessed the arising of presence in another human being. The very reason for our existence in human form is to bring that dimension of consciousness into this world. We are here to bring that dimension of consciousness, to go, hey, I can be with what's here. I can allow all things to flow through. I can be the sky, no matter what storm is blowing through. I can be that presence behind it all. That's the level of consciousness that has the ability to manifest through humans. It cannot manifest through animals. They don't have the awareness. Humans have the awareness, but we also have this ego mind, this pain body that gets us all stumbled up and being unconscious. That's our work. That's the evolution. That's the next phase. That's the new earth that he's talking about, is being able to be this conscious in every moment, to not have preference, to be all accepting, all allowing, unconditionally loving. That's what it's all about. So the rest of the chapter was really about the pain body in children, which super interesting, right? We see it in kids manifest. We see kids have a temper tantrum or go in the corner or suck their thumb or just hold on to their doll or just start weeping for no reason, right? Where does the pain body come from? Well, number one, just the collective pain body of humanity that exists, and it will manifest through in children and all of us. And number two, they can also take it on from their parents. So even if parents try to hide it and say, oh, I don't want to fight in front of the children, right? Again, that energy is felt. The frequency emanates. No matter what you say, energy is speaking. The body is speaking. And kids will pick up on it. So a suppressed pain body is even more toxic, they say. It's even more problematic, and kids will absorb that toxicity. And some of them are intuitively aware, right? Some of them will say, like, my parents are nuts. Like, if they're in a really, unconscious household and there's a lot of fighting, they'll step back from it. And they'll say, I don't want to absorb this, right? Because intuitively they know. But what can you do, right? Because some of you have kids, some of you have grandkids. And so how can you help? Because if we are here, human evolution is to bring this consciousness, then we need to help the next generation not end up like us, where we are more dominated by this pain body. There is more unconsciousness than consciousness. So how can we help the next generation? How can we support this evolution? Right? I don't know if you're wondering this, but number one, the first thing is to deal with your own pain body, right? It's like put your own oxygen mask on first, right? We cannot help someone else if we haven't first helped ourselves. It might be easier to see in others, and you think, oh, well, I'll go fix that. No, you need to fix you. So are you dealing with your own pain body? Meaning, can you be present enough, moment to moment, to witness when the change comes in, when the emotional intensity comes in, and go, that's not me. And can you disidentify from it so it doesn't take you over? That's the key. And then the next thing is to stay present when your child or grandchild is breaking down and when they are being triggered and when their pain body takes over, right? Pain bodies want to activate other pain bodies because it feeds the drama. But if you can stay present and whole and not get not feed into that drama, that's key, right? So many times the pain body in children get activated because they don't get what they want. Right? Their wanting has been thwarted. Well, if you end up giving into the demands, you fed the pain body. So you don't give into the demands of the wanting. You just hold presence. You just hold love, right? Otherwise, this kid is going to learn that the more unhappy I get, the more intense I get, the more likely I'm going to get what I want. So that will just lead to dysfunction later in their life. So don't do that, right? So the only way you can do that is if you're in control of your own pain body because you don't get pulled in, okay? Then, after it subsides, have a conversation with them. And I'm actually going to read this direct to the book because I think this is probably some of the most Powerful parenting or grandparenting advice that has been given. This is on page 171 in my book, if you want to follow along. A little while after it has subsided, or perhaps the next day, you can talk to the child about what happened. But don't tell the child about the pain body. Super interesting, right? You want them to internally discover it, not be told about it. Ask questions instead. For example, ask, what was it that came over you yesterday when you wouldn't stop screaming? Ask them. Make them go inner, right? It's inner mastery. Do you remember? What did it feel like? Was it a good feeling? That thing that came over you, does it have a name? No. If it did have a name, what would it be called? If you could see it, what would it look like? Can you paint a picture of what it would look like? What happened to it when it went away? Did it go to sleep? Do you think it might come back? Right? You were teaching the child that weather patterns come through, that things come in, that it's not them, that it's actually something else. You're asking them to picture it, to name it, to make it a thing that is not them, to help them realize, oh, I am witnessing this thing come and go. Right? But you're not telling the child. You're helping them to learn, because that allows for presence, awareness, consciousness, the witness to be activated inside of them. Is that making sense? Okay, so all of those questions are designed to awaken the witnessing faculty inside of that child, which is inside of all of us. And then the next time the kid gets taken over by it, that's when you say, it's come back, hasn't it? Right? And now they're grounded in, oh yeah, we talked about that. Oh yeah, this is this tornado that's coming through my life. It's not me. And sometimes the tornado will still go. The temper tantrum will still happen. But if you keep speaking to it, to the awareness that is watching it, the child will, on some level, pick up on that. All right? Direct your attention to what it feels like. Tell the child, be curious about this. Here's that feeling. What does it feel like? Right? Don't resist it, and you don't be critical about it. Be curious about what is taking over you right now, right? And help them see, oh, it's not me. It's this thing that has come in. And even if it doesn't stop, right? Just you shining that light of awareness is going to help. And very likely, as you increase awareness, the child increases awareness, and the pain body will weaken. That's how it works. All right. So pretty powerful. I really enjoyed that. I know all of us are interacting with kids all of the time. So if you were in a role where you can help to educate that child, it would be really impactful to do so. I think that that's it for today. So if we are here to truly become conscious humans and evolve in that way, we start by helping others, right? Helping ourselves and helping others. So this next week, we're going to finish up the chapter. So we start back at unhappiness. And then I think we can probably get the whole chapter in. It's about 12 pages, might be a little long. We'll see. But we're certainly going to try. It's good to be back with you guys. I hope that this was a powerful discussion for you. If you have any questions, comments, put it in our Telegram chat. If you're watching this later and you're not in the Telegram chat, you can put it in the comments. I always respond to them. And I'll get this uploaded onto YouTube as well under the playlist for this book club. So appreciate all of you. Glad you were here, and I'll see you next week.